back again with episode 2 of The Last of Us, where Joel, Tess, and Ellie are venturing out into post-apocalyptic Boston to meet up with a group of Fireflies at the State House. This episode is brought to us by Neil Druckmann, the game creator and director behind The Last of Us series, particularly Last of Us Part 2, which I believe he was the director for as well. Or one of, if not the main director at least. I should probably mention for future reference, if anyone watching this and any of my episodic reviews of this series has not played the game, the spoiler warning is going to be in full front, so make sure you watch the episode first before you come back here. If I look and sound delirious, I am really sorry. I had a long day at work today and I was up late last night watching the episode, so just bear with me as I try to power through this. This episode more or less is the same quality as the first episode. It's a very faithful adaptation of this game and the world that it's set up. Some things are shifted around, and I expected that to happen, and some things that were changed for the show, like the tendrils, which if you step on a live one, it'll send a signal to a nearby horde of infected and they'll know exactly where you're at and come after you. The thought of that causes the tension to go even higher, which is what ends up happening when I think it's either Joel or Tess that steps on one, when that one Firefly turns out to be a runner, and they shoot him, and the tendril starts wrapping around its hand, and then it cuts to that horde of infected that was on the street nearby, and they start to come right for the State House, which leads to the eventual death of Tess. If you played the game, you know exactly what's coming. I still like how they did that. They don't show Tess getting bitten, but we can all picture in our heads that somehow during the struggle with those clickers, that one of them did get its teeth into her. I like seeing the bond starting to form between Ellie and Joel, how they're starting to try to talk about something while still snarking at each other, while they're waiting for Tess to come in and open the door from the other side. Because at that point, what else are you gonna do? You can't just sit there in complete silence. Maury Schwartz would have a field day with that. What is it about silence that bothers people? Why do people constantly need to fill the air with words? Still adamant on killing Ellie since she was bitten by an infected, but is not really convinced that she is immune. Ellie was bitten 3 weeks prior in the shopping mall that she broke into, and us fans of the games know what went on down there. But he grudgingly decides to go along with it due to the persuasions of Tess. And as they're going through the wasteland of downtown Boston, they run into some clickers at the museum nearby. That sequence was heart-pounding. The moment I heard that click, I froze. Due to years and years of experience with the previous 2 games, I already knew what to expect from the clickers, but to see it portrayed in a live-action setting was a whole nother thing entirely, and the makeup effect on these clickers was astonishingly incredible. And it turns out, according to the inside look of this episode that plays at the end of each episode, the extras were actors of the actual games who understood the movements of the clickers, which adds a lot more to the authenticity of those things. Seeing Joel try to silently reload his weapon quietly while trying not to make a sound in front of that clicker, I would imagine not just myself, but a bunch of other people watching this for the first time would be chewing their fingernails right down to the knuckle. The episode really captures the beauty of the Last of Us universe, seeing how everything's overgrown and what's left of civilization, with the buildings crashing into each other, the cars that are left unattended, the highway overpass collapsing. As I said, a very beautiful setting, especially when Ellie says the jury's still out, but you can't deny that view. But then it's all tarnished once you hear the cry of a clicker from far away. Another reminder that this world is an extremely dark place to live in. The opening of the episode takes us to Jakarta, Indonesia, among the first days of the infection, where this one Indonesian scientist is taken by the police, but it turns out they need her expertise to study this person who bit other people at her job, and she discovers that the cordyceps that they originally thought can't live in humans actually can spread in humans. And her response to the officer's question, can this thing be treated, is chill-inducing, saying there is no cure, there is no vaccine. You need to bomb the entire city to stop the spread. The look on that officer's face captures the horror and dread of the entire situation. And it's a good reminder that it's not just Joel and Ellie that had to deal with the consequences of the outbreak. We get to see other sides of the world and how they responded to this situation, which I've always wondered about for many years. Last of Us Part 2 shows us a different side of post-apocalyptic America with Santa Barbara and Seattle, with the groups that rose up after the fact. But I've always wondered how other countries dealt with it, and so far what we're getting, I really like that. I know I probably shouldn't hope for other characters to be centered around that in places like Europe or Asia, since The Last of Us is about Joel and Ellie at its core, but my brain does wonder how would it look like if a Last of Us story were to take place in Berlin or London or Hong Kong or Tokyo. As for the death of Tess, Joel's reaction, no words spoken, clearly broken up over what's about to happen, but immediately bolts out without saying anything. Pedro Pascal once again conveys it perfectly, and Bella Ramsey continues to shine beautifully as Ellie. Some people will call her strongly miscast. I could not disagree more with that. How she recreates a small moment in the game if you go to a certain area of this hotel in Pittsburgh, acting like she's checking into the hotel. Well, yes, you could take my luggage upstairs. You are a weird kid.
Ding, ding. Yes, sir, I would like your finest suite, please. Yes, ma'am. Would you like me to check your luggage? Yes, ma'am. Right away, ma'am.
You're a weird kid.
You're a weird kid.
And I love how she asks the question, are there really infected out there that explode spores in your face? And Tess says, God, I hope not. Nice little foreshadowing of Last of Us Part 2 with the Shamblers. And since the episode aired, I actually went on to YouTube to look for the clip of the clicker sequence. I've watched that clip at least 8 times so far. It's that good. I was almost tempted to pick up a controller because I had a flashback to playing that game for the first time, hearing those clicking sounds. And other people are saying it in comment sections, but where was a brick in a bottle when you needed one? Also, I think the way Tess dies, while kind of creepy, the way the infected starts to plant a kiss onto her, I actually found her sacrifice to be a lot more impactful, and also really clever since she uses all the weaponry, lighting the lighter causing the whole place to explode. Her sacrifice in the first game was totally fine, it worked in the service of the game, but if you were to adapt that exactly to a T in a television show, it probably wouldn't have had the same effect as it does here. And I guess with episode 3 coming up, we get more backstory as to Bill and Frank's relationship, which we get a hint of in the first game. Really curious to see how they portray Bill in this one, and if it's in the next episode or the one after where we get the magazine scene with Ellie and Joel in the car. If you play the game, you'll know what I'm talking about. Really curious to see how they get that one. So those are my thoughts on episode 2 of Last of Us. Comment below and tell me what your thoughts are, and I'll see you in the next one.